it's horrendous to deal with. But we can't trample on our individual rights in the process of that control. And none of us really know what the vaccine's going to do, long term or short term, because we're dealing with a virus that was developed in a lab for very evil purposes. And to try to speculate on what the vaccine to control that is going to do to our bodies, it's really, those folks are taking it. It's their right. But we are the lab rats right now. We're the ones that are really testing out to see what's going to happen. And to do that to our kids, I think, is unconscionable. And to require them to do that. As was mentioned a while ago, there are some things that have already been documented, as far as heart inflammations, blood clots, damage to the natural immune system, especially in young kids. And, I just can't imagine that we'd want to go there. Anybody that wants to get the vaccine on their own, I don't have a problem with that. That's their right. That's their, it should be their right to be vaccinated and their choice. But for them to try to dictate to me or my family that they should do the same thing is totally unacceptable. Especially whenever you have so many, with the effectiveness of the vaccine. We got a lot of people that are getting COVID that have already had the vaccine as well. Sometimes they might not get quite as sick, but they still acquire the virus. And something that always comes to my attention too is the idea of liability and responsibility. If, as of a board of education, something like that was mandated, would you not feel responsible and be liable for the adverse impacts that you forced upon these kids or teachers in order, for the teachers to keep their jobs or for the kids to come to school? It's, the vaccine companies have been they've got fairly broad, protection, from liability, probably a little bit too broad. They were granted that, because they wanted the vaccine developed quickly. But the courts have not weighed in yet on whether public and private entities that demand vaccination have liability, for the side effects of that vaccination. And if I was a Board of Education member, that's not a responsibility that I would want to accept. I feel the same way about the mask mandates. What kind of breathing problems are we going to give these kids whenever they have to wear a mask all day? What about the bacterial infections that they can get from wearing dirty masks and re-wear them? What about the psychological problems that kids are going to experience because they can't communicate with other kids while they're at school? These are all things that I think you all probably, I'm sure you've thought about, but I hope you will consider, even further. I would plead with you to, respect our individual rights, not to mandate something. Pocahontas Countyans have always been very independent, very self-sufficient people. We'll do anything to help our neighbors, but we don't appreciate a handful of folks that are really activists in this, trying to take away our individual rights.
Your time is up. Thank you very much.
Please, as a board, don't let these activists use you as a means in order to further their agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy Hines.